Your domain, when we talk about our domain, are we looking at the x's or the y's? X's, okay. And we're looking furthest point to the left and furthest point to the right. Remember that the arrows means it keeps going on forever and ever in both directions. So for our domain, what is our furthest point to the left if it has this arrow? It keeps going. We don't know what it is. What about to the right? It also keeps going. Do we remember what that's called if it keeps going left and right? All real numbers. And then we write that, curly brackets, x such that x is an element of all real numbers. Range is now our y values. We're looking at lowest to highest, but these have arrows. So what is our lowest value? It goes on forever. What about our highest? Same thing. So what is our range? All real numbers again. Except now we need y's instead of x's. This question is kind of tying everything into one, domain and range, function, notation. I'm sorry. Is it a function or not? And then zeros are intercepts. So is this a function? Does this pass the vertical line test? My lines aren't very straight, but yes. Do we remember what we're looking for if we're asked to find a zero? An intercept, which one? X or Y? Not Y. So zeros are x-intercepts. Remember that other words for x-intercepts are zeros, solutions, and roots. So if we're looking for our zeros, what would those be? Where does this function cross the x-axis? Regina? Say that one more time. Close to 1. Sure. Let's say it's at 1. And we're going to write that as an ordered pair. Are there any others? -1. And then Jada. Here, if it asks you to find the y-intercepts, there is one, but it's like a decimal. So we could make something up. That's what I was looking at. Got it. Okay. So the y-intercept, we could say like 0.8, 0.75, something that's close but not exactly 1. Any other questions on this page? I do want to mention for numbers 1 and 2 and, for 1, 2, 3, and 4, when you list out your domain and range, you're writing all of the numbers least to greatest in curly brackets, not like this. Not like what we could say. If no other questions, move on to the next page. So ignore my graphing section of that. Questions on that page? It's my 9, but this is yeah. Okay, so for this one, Lennon, 10. We could do that one. For 7 and for this 10 on yours, these are the function notation, kind of like evaluating, where you're putting these in and then simplifying. You have to know if you're given x or y. If there's a number inside the parentheses, you're given x. If it says f of x equals, you're given y. So for these, we have an f equation, so we're going to use this. Put 6 in for all of your x's. And then simplify. 5 times 6 would give us 30. 30 minus 20 is 10. And then you have to write your final answer as one of two ways. F of 6 equals 10, or f of x equals 10. Either of those, you don't need both. Questions on that before we do 10? Ten is very similar. There's just two parts to it. So we have our f equation. So we're going to use that same thing as we did before. F of negative 1 equals 5 times negative 1 minus 20. I'm writing this already. Do that first part. Figure out what the second part is, but now, because it's g, you're using a different equation. So g of 2 equals, put 2 in for all of your x's. So that would be 4 plus 10 minus 11, or 14 minus 11, so 3. And then the very last step in this is adding the two together. So negative 25 plus 3. So you would leave that as however it's written up there as your final answer. F of negative 1 plus g of 2 equals negative 22. Other questions on this page? 11. So for finding the 0 algebraically, what are we looking for? X-intercept. If we're finding the x-intercept, our y value has to be what? 0. 0.
When you're done with this question, can you go back up?
Yes, I will do that. Our y has to be 0. Remember that f of x and y are the same thing. So you can change this to a y and then put 0 in place of it. And then we're just solving for x. Add 16 on both sides. And divide both sides by 8. But we have to write our final x-intercept as a ordered pair. It would be 2, 0. If it said find the y-intercept, ladies, please don't talk over me. If it said find the y-intercept, what would it be? What do you mean?
Are you asking for the x value or the total?
For the y value. For the y-intercept, sorry.
Sorry, that's not what you say. You mean the total answer or what x would be if we're solving for y?
You can do both.
Sure. Okay, so x would be 0.
Correct.
And then you would replace the x where 8 is with 0. Because x equals 0. So it would be y equals 0 minus 16, which y equals negative 16.
Also remember that if it's in this format, y equals some number with x, and then you have a constant. Whatever that constant is going to be your y-intercept. You don't have to do this work, but you can if you need to. Regina, go back up to which one? 10. Other questions on this page?
14 on yours.
Okay, which is 12 on the paper. So in your calculator, this is just you putting it in there. So if you didn't grab your calculator, make sure you go grab that. Go into your y equals. Reset your calculator first. Second plus 712, because I don't know what was on there before. Go into your y equals at the top. Type in that entire equation. I think that says x to the 4th. So use the little caret above the division symbol for that. Minus 8x to the 3rd, I think is what that says. Plus 5x squared plus 14x. Once that's all in there, hit graph. And if it's very clear, you don't need to do anything. Just look and see where your zeros or x-intercepts are. So looks like -1, 0, 2, and 6, 7. And then you would list each of those as ordered pairs. There's really no work for that one. All of the problems that ask you to find zeros, you can do in the calculator, but if it says to show your work, I need to see you do it algebraically. Go on to the next page. have any questions on that? Tasman?
15.
Yeah. Whatever your numbers are, I have it up right here so I can look. 15 is, yeah, this one. So domain, we're looking at furthest left to furthest right. So furthest left, what would that value be? That's going to be our final answer because we don't know what our furthest left is and what our furthest right is. So all of this. Notice that some of the answers they give you are there to trick you. The between the -5 and 4 is if you miss the arrows. The greater than 0 is really range. And then greater than -2 is just there. Okay. Other questions on that page? Regina? 16. Okay. Range for this one. So we're looking at lowest to highest. 1. Range is y, so anything with an x we can get rid of. So it has to be C or D. Our lowest value, our highest value.
So our highest value is 2, our lowest value is -3. So we can deduct from our other answers that it's going to be D.
Now, if this was a question that said write your range, I would want you to do curly brackets, y, the line, and then the rest of that. This answer just didn't have that. Okay, on the next page. Something like 19 won't really be on there, but what you could do is start putting some of those in, like putting in the x values and see if you get the same y values, or putting them into your y equals in your calculator and seeing which one matches. But do we have questions on 17 or 18? Questions like 17, make sure that you remember how to do your mapping, least to greatest in both, no repeats, drawing your arrows. Your table, your x value should be least to greatest with your y's matching. Ordered pairs, it doesn't really matter. And then graphing as long as it matches. I think that was all four. Did we have Regina? So these are looking for that R function. So this one, this one, this one, this one. This one is not because this 5 goes to 2 different y values, and this one is not because it doesn't pass the vertical y test. Questions on 18. Okay, go on to the next page. Again, 20 is very similar to that 19 I was just talking about. You could look and see which values match by putting them in, graphing it, seeing does it match or not, but that's not one that you'll actually see. Do we have questions on anything else on that page? not, I just want to point out for number 24, are they giving you X or are they giving you Y? Y. So that means you're solving for X. Same thing as in 25. And then for 26, make sure that you are putting in each of the values and then finding each of the values. Last page. Any questions on that page? Regina? Like for 26? Yeah, and ask your question one more time.
How can you tell when you're finding the domain and when you're finding the range?
Okay, so like in questions 26, it'll tell you find the range when the domain is, so you know you're finding range. But in the other questions, 21, 22, 23, those are all f of some number. So that's f of x. You're given your x, you have to find y. 24, 25 are f of x equals some number. So that's y. You're given y, you have to find x. So you have to keep those two straight. Did we have any questions on that last page? Do we have any other general, specific questions before you guys take your quiz?
We don't write a check.
Not today. Thursday. We'll do binder checks Thursday. Which reminds me, I need to get this. All right. So go ahead and clear off your desk.